The graph is loaded in 8 foot. Loaded,
Yeah.
loaded.
Hey guys, I'm FLW Pro Braxton Setzer.
I'm Bass Elite Series Pro Clent Davis.
And today we're out here fishing the Yo-Zuri 110 deep jerkbait, but we're having some success today. You know, high bluebird skies, a little bit of wind, just working the 3dB deep jerkbait, real slow. It's a good subtle jerkbait. It gets down a little bit deeper, so we're able to get down to those fish. They're holding fairly tight to the bottom, about 7 or 8 foot deep, and this seems to be the bait that's working the best for us today.
So, you know, when I'm throwing a jerkbait, usually 10 to 12 pound Yo-Zuri T7 line. I let the fish depth tell me what I want, whether I want just the regular 110 or the deep diver. Usually the 110, 5 foot, 10 foot depths, and anything deeper than that, I'm usually throwing this. In saying that, you know, we catch a lot of suspended fish over 20 foot on just the regular 110, but to me, a jerkbait is a bait, is the bait. I always have this bait tied on year round. If you're just wanting to go out and catch fish, there's probably not a better all-around bait to catch bass than a jerkbait. This 110 jerkbait, I catch them from Florida all the way to the Canadian border, and from water temperatures, honestly, from the low 40s all the way up into the 80s. There's not a bad time of the year to throw a jerkbait. It's definitely a great winter and pre-spawn bait, but I catch them on it year round. Oh man.
There we go.
Braxton's got one too. That's a good one, ain't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, sir. They loaded on that little tip right there. Double, got a double.
You know, a lot of people think about a jerkbait as a fall or wintertime bait. For me, it really is a year-round bait. You know, I use it a lot in Florida or in Texas, even in Alabama and lakes that have grass in them. When the grass is just below the surface, you know, you can fish a jerkbait and tick the top of that grass. Around home, a lot of times I'll throw it on points for spots, around brush piles or standing timber. Up north, you can just rip it through open water and call up smallmouth, you know, out of the depths with it. For me, the jerkbait of choice is the Yo-Zuri 3dB 110 jerkbait, and then the 110 deep. I found myself through the years where I reach for the little bit deeper diving jerkbait, probably more than I do the 110, and that's just because I like to get it down a little bit deeper. And to me, you can work it in a couple of different ways. You can just barely pop it and it has a nice, real subtle action, or you can really rip it and with the bigger bill on it gives it a real erratic action. So that you can kind of tune it to whatever the fishing conditions are, whether it's warm or whether it's cool. You know, cooler water obviously is going to be more lethargic bass, and so you can match that presentation to their mood. And that's what makes this bait a great year-round bait for me.
The #1 thing in fishing a jerkbait is figuring out the cadence in which the bass actually want it. I was in Texas a few weeks ago, and the only way I could get one to bite it is when I would just barely twitch it twice, and literally I would let it sit there 8 to 10 seconds and it'd go swimming off like you're fishing soft plastic. So that's, you know, that's a deal, that's trial and error. That's part of fishing that you've got to figure out yourself by the day. Some days they want it work just as fast as you can work it, and some days they just want it reeled and barely twitched and paused for, you know, 10, 20 seconds at a time.
You know, Yo-Zuri makes a lot of great colors, and for me, some of the main colors that I tend to reach for more than anything are going to be the Pro Blue or the Tennessee Shad, or even the Gizzard Shad. And I try to match my jerkbait based on what the water looks like. If the water's real clear, that's when I'm reaching for more of the translucent colors. If it's a little dirty, you know, a stain, to slightly dirty, I'm gonna reach for a painted color, something that stands out a little bit more. Obviously the white paint shows up better in the dirtier water, so that allows those fish to see it from a little bit further away. You know, in clear water situations, the translucent helps because those bass feed a lot on sight, and to be able to trick them into biting, it takes a real natural look, and that's where the translucent colors come into play. You know, the bait are trying to hide, they're trying to blend into their surroundings, so a lot of times, you know, clear water bait fish are going to be more translucent, more natural looking colors, and that's where those translucent pro blue colors really shine, is in that really clear water. You know, most of the time when I'm throwing a jerkbait, I pretty much always start with Yo-Zuri T7 in a 10-pound line. There's a fish. That feels like a good one. I usually start with Yo-Zuri T7 in like a 10-pound line. If I'm fishing in a situation where I don't need that bait to go quite as deep, I may up it to a 12-pound line, especially if I'm around standing timber or something like that. So this fish, what we're fishing out here right now, there's an underwater ridge. It's got fairly deep water on both sides of it. It comes up to about 7 or 8 foot on top, and we found this group of fish that's basically sitting right on top of that ridge on the bottom, and so we're throwing this little bit deeper diving jerkbait to get down right above the bottom, and it seems to be working really well today.
My jerkbait rod and my topwater rod's always a Phoenix 7.1 ML. It's got enough backbone where I can really work this jerkbait, but it's got enough load to where I don't have to worry about jerking the hooks out of their mouth, especially if one bites it when I'm popping it and one hits it. It's got enough load in it where I don't rip the hooks out of their mouth.
The main thing is finding the cadence that the fish really want. They're gonna tell you when you get that right cadence, they're gonna tell you. But that's what's so great about a jerkbait, is the versatility of it to be able to match any condition, whether it's actively feeding fish or fish that are suspended, really lethargic. You can slow that bait down, you can get it right in their face and just let it sit there, and it absolutely drive them crazy. So if you're looking for a great jerkbait, I would really suggest picking up some of the Yo-Zuri 110s and 110 deeps. We put a lot of work into these baits. We gave them a lot of high-end quality. You know, it's got great action, it's got the magnetic weight transfer system, it's got really high-end features in these baits. So they're great baits to start with if you're wanting to learn how to jerkbait fish, or you already know how to jerkbait fish. This is going to be a jerkbait that's going to be great for you. You can go to yozuri.com, check out all the sizes and all the colors, get an idea of what they've got, and then you can go either online or go to your local retailer and pick them up.